thunderstorms on Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 76.
Hindsight is a powerful tool. We can learn a lot from it. Like always read the instructions. Don't be afraid to ask for directions. Fill the tank before you get way out in the field, and it can help improve our foresight, especially on the farm. At NK Seeds, we analyze past data to provide top-performing seed choices for your field's future and bottom line. Contact your local NK retailer or learn more at nkseeds.com, delivering technology, genetics, and value.
Start your next project today and save with 11% off everything. Now at Menards. Give your home an update with an Energy Star rated water heater from Menards. Choose from a high-efficiency natural gas or LP tankless water heater. Right now, they're just $933.61 each after sale price and 11% off. Sale prices are good through Saturday, September 7th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Midas is going your way. If you live in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt counties and want to go somewhere special, Midas will take you there. Need to get to the theater, the hair salon, the doctor, the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Just call 800-BUS-RIDE. Call now and Midas will take you there in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this fall. Midas, your Jefferson Lines connection.
Our job here's getting you there. Ride the bus.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. We're making radio great again here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Another beautiful day. And by the way, we deserve it. We deserve beautiful days like this because we're going to have plenty of miserable days in January, February, and March. Joining us now, as usual, on a Friday at this time is Dr. Lee Heeb, an orthopedic surgeon and libertarian and a longtime contributor to the program. How you doing, Lee?
Hey, good.
All right.
Well,
you have
as
heard.
good as I can in this mess.
You have heard that San Francisco has designated the National Rifle Association as a domestic terrorist group, and Democrats everywhere are in lockstep. They seem to be all saying the same thing, the same way all the time, and that is assault weapons do not belong in our society. We must get rid of the assault weapons. I mean, it's strange. It's like an old 1950s science fiction movie where zombies come out of the night and all start saying the same thing. It's just the epitome of smug white liberal opinion. That's all it is. It's a way of looking down at people. Yes, we're in favor of gun control because we're humane and we're good, and you're not. I'll get off it. I'm so tired of that. I can't handle it.
Oh, absolutely. But, the difference between the zombies all saying the same thing and the newscasters all saying the same thing is the zombies are completely brain dead. They're just mumbling, right? They just sound the same because they're all brain dead. These people it's a concerted action, and they're being paid. They're being funded by multiple bad actors probably, but they're being funded, and they're being coached because human beings spontaneously talking on a subject will not come up with exactly the same words.
That's right.
And, when you listen to, I know Rush Limbaugh does this and Alex Jones does this, and I think what's the other big TV conservative guy, in Texas, they all do this where they play, something will happen, and then they play little snips from all these different people the same day saying exactly the same words. That's not spontaneous. That's talking points being given to them by somebody.
Yes.
I can't say who it is, but that is. And that's with the gun debate. But the real talking point here is, and somebody sent me this, and I think it's a great point. The men who wrote the Second Amendment did not just finish a hunting trip. They just finished liberating a nation. And they knew, so that's the quote. And I love that. And this is not about hunting. This is not about, and the funny thing is when you talk to anybody that knows anything about guns, the first thing they'd say is, so what is an assault weapon? I mean, this is just some word that these guys trumped up, no pun intended there, just came up with to make up a description of something that they don't really understand. You can tell talking to these people, they don't know anything about weapons. They've probably never fired a weapon. They're not around them. And I tell you, there's a very interesting article that's on, I just found it just searching, but it's the former CEO of NPR, and it basically the name of it's on Town Hall, but it says the former NPO CEO actually talks to conservatives, has a change of heart, and he actually he has admitted that when you really look at the data, first of all, he finds out that all these people that he looked down on for so many years are actually really practicing the Christian values. They when you really talk to real people, they're really the people they say they are.
Wow,
They really
conservatives
really
are
love
actually...
the nation. They're not fake. They're not phony Christians. They're not, whatever. And he said, I think he went to a NASCAR thing or something. I can't remember the whole thing in the article. It's been a while, but that's what he said all this, and he had a change of heart about this whole thing. And he talks about, he admits that gun control does not save lives. It actually costs lives because you're not getting all these things reported about how many people actually protect themselves with a weapon. I mean, and everybody who really looks at this knows that. I mean, when they always talk about how it's the proliferation of guns that has done that, those of us in the Midwest, we have to think about the fact that those of us old enough, we all grew up guys took their rifles in their trucks to school so then they could go hunt deer on the way home. And everybody probably still, most people have some kind of weapon in the house, and we're not all shooting each other. I mean, literally, in my whole lifetime in my county, I think there's been one gun death. But I mean, I may be wrong by there might have been two, but there have not been like there are in Chicago. And so the numbers don't justify any of this, but it's not about just guns. I got to tell you, I don't know. Are you following this stuff with HARP? Have you heard about HARP?
What, HARP or TARP?
HARPA.
No, I have not.
HARPA? Okay. Well, I remember this because I was in the military years ago when it had been ARPA. That was their research arm of the military. Then it became DARPA. I don't remember what all these acronyms stand for, but now it's HARPA. And HARPA is the technologic age married to the military. So we've got the NSA in sync with big tech, now in sync with the Joint Chiefs in the military, who want to control. We want to find bad people before they do bad things. And the way they're going to do it is, this is what they're proposing. It's a technologic red flag law where they can now, the NSA is collecting all of our phone calls and all of our texts and all of this stuff. What they're going to do is they're going to collect all this. They're going to sift through with their algorithms, and when they find speech that makes them worried that somebody might be, and they're employing psychiatrists, and then they're going to put it through some psychologic profile algorithm and determine who should be investigated for pre-crime. That's essentially what they're doing.
Pre-crime? I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I threw in the term pre-crime because of the Tom, what's his name, movie.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
But Tom Cruise movie, yeah. But really, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about coming to your house, confiscating your weapons because we have reason to believe you're psychologically unstable because we heard you made a Hillary Clinton joke, or you're a Trump supporter, or you were talking about guns on your website or your text messages or something. That guns are an excuse here. We are going to get, the social credit score in China, if anybody hasn't been paying attention, they have millions of people who cannot travel now in China. They cannot get on a bus. They cannot get on a plane because they said something about their government and dropped their social credit score. And they have real-time social credit scores. So if you're not above whatever magic number it is, you can't travel. At some point, they're not going to be able to have a business. They're not going to be able to own things. They're not going to be able, pretty soon not going to be able to buy things. That's how they're going to squeeze that's how they're controlling their population. It's quite effective, actually.
Actually, it is.
Yeah, but this is why Hong Kong is rebelling to the end. They're not giving up because they realize they do not want that system coming there. And we as Americans, we need to wake up and pay attention to what's going on because it's coming here. Guns are an excuse. It's about every aspect of our lives. And the elite are going to control us through this thing if we don't realize what's going on. And don't let them cook us slowly. We have to stop this. If Trump does this, then he will go from being the best guy I think that we've had in my lifetime for a while to the worst. I mean, overnight, because if Hillary Clinton had pulled off something like this with weapons, using weapons as an excuse, we'd have been paying attention. But everybody's kind of been lulled into a false sense of security with President Trump. And if he rolls over on this, we're doomed. You can't let the military get together with them and do this, I think.
General James Mattis was chief of staff in the Obama administration and the Biden administration. And he tells in a new book that military intelligence or the CIA or some intelligence branch picked up a plan by the Iranians, approved at the highest levels of the Iranian government, to bomb a cafe that was frequented by, most of the political class in Washington, D.C., a cafe and bar. And there would be a huge explosion. According to General Mattis, dozens of people would have been killed. There would have been body parts in the street a block and a half from the White House. And General Mattis, he believed accurately that was a act of war. And he went to the Obama administration, to Eric Holder and to Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and told them the story that they had recordings of Iranian generals conferring with politicians, and they were going to bomb our nation's capital. And Obama, Biden, and Eric all said, well, it didn't happen. We've exposed them, so we really don't want to do anything. And the reason they didn't bring that to light is Obama wanted that damn nuclear deal. He was afraid.
He wanted to give them $1 billion in cash.
Yes, I think he wanted to give them $5 billion.
Call that what it was. That wasn't a deal. A deal is when you get something in return for your money.
Yeah, that's right.
No, he gave them a whole bunch of cash. That's the bottom line here, and he did it with our tax dollars because he's not acting in the interest of America. He gave the whole Mid East to the Muslim Brotherhood. Come on now.
Yeah, he did.
But anyway, yeah. But again, these same people now want to call the NRA terrorists, and I want to point out that not one of these mass shooters were NRA members that I'm aware of. Are you? Maybe
No.
I'm wrong. I don't think any of them are.
No.
And I don't think the NRA people are not going out and shooting innocent people. We need to put if we want to talk about gun violence, we want to talk about the people that are doing this. And they're either psychiatric patients, which I agree that it's sad that people have psychiatric problems, but it's not clear to me that they're the lone wolf psychiatric people that they claim to be. I mean, Satanism keeps coming up. There's all sorts of links here, but and other stuff. I mean, these guys, we don't know. They were on SSRIs. How much of this is actually? I don't want to sound too conspiratorial, but it's a little bit weird. But anyway, they're not. Yes, there's some crazy people, and there are some malignant people, and then there's a ton of criminals. We lose more people in Chicago every weekend than we do to mass shootings.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And that is, you're right. That he was right. That was an act of war, but again, we've had several acts of wars we didn't do anything about. Quite frankly, I mean, we didn't really do a lot about the coal. We had not Darfur, was it the bombing of our embassy? I mean, we've had a bunch of stuff. I mean, the Lebanon. We've had a lot of stuff we've just put up with. And then the crowning glory was when he gave them like $1 billion in cash.
Yeah, well,
of our taxpayer money.
According to General Mattis, the Iranians thought that they could bomb Washington, D.C. and still get the nuclear deal because Obama and his crowd were so soft. They really believed.
I think they're right.
I think they were. Oh, absolutely.
I think they probably are right. They would have thought that they're. And they would have convinced. I don't think Obama was soft. I think he was politically motivated, but ideologically motivated. But liberals in this country are soft, and they would have said, "Oh yes, maybe if we pay them, they won't do it to us again." That's part true.
Oh yeah. Well, but like all weak people, if they get into a position of authority, they're cruel. They are liberals cannot be trusted with power because they're essentially weak. I mean, they confuse themselves by telling themselves they're strong, but they're very weak people, and you put them in authority, and they will become cruel and domineering. Simple as that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, now you mentioned the CIA was, part of this thing somehow, but, the CIA, remember who started them. They were the OSS.
OSS, yeah.
And then the senior Nazi general that ran the espionage against, I'm thinking of his name right now, against the Soviet Union. Remember his name? Anyway, he was, there's two Russian generals, Galen. It was Reinhard Galen was his name. And Reinhard Galen was one of two generals who were not tried in absentia. Okay, they were not tried for Nazi war crimes. the other one was the guy that was in this big research program they never caught, but they didn't catch him, and that's suspicious. They didn't try him in absentia. That's suspicious. But Richard Galen wasn't tried because he went to Dulles and said, listen, I will come, I have all these spies in the Soviet Union, and you could see where this is going after World War II. So I will give you my spy network, but the deal is I run it from your office. And that's what became our CIA initially. That was where we started, was the Nazis. So don't expect too much here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably not.
There's a different. We shouldn't be surprised that the CIA has always kind of marched to a little different AM station than the Liberty Lovers of America.
I would think so. Yes. Dr. Lee Heeb is our guest. She's a libertarian and a regular contributor to this program, and she's an actual physician, by the way, an orthopedic surgeon. So it's always a great pleasure to have Dr. Heeb on the air with us. But obviously, climate change, gun control, transgender rights, animal rights, and God knows what other kind of rights are on the agenda for the Democratic Party. Now, what's interesting, first of all, is that Joe Biden was talking about climate change the other night on CNN, and his left eye filled up with blood. I want to ask you about that. What does that mean when a 77-year-old man's left eye all of a sudden turns red?
I think he was struck by God. I don't know.
Is that your scientific?
I'm not an ophthalmologist. I mean, presumably it's just a small blood vessel burst, and it just happened at a moment of stress. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say I don't think he didn't have a stroke or anything. I mean, it was just appropriate timing. So I'm going to say I think it was a sign from God.
Sign from God.
That he was lying.
Yeah.
This whole thing with climate control is really a money grab. At the time because you cannot explain it any other way. There's so many weird facts here. I mean, you cannot explain the fact that on the one hand, they want to shut down our industrial bases, and they want to, again, it's an anti-American money thing. They want to shut down our coal plants and our industrial base and make us not drive petroleum vehicles, which means we won't go anywhere.
Right.
And then, but at the same time, they're not requiring the same from China. They're not requiring the same from, our competitive enemies, presumably, and potentially military enemies overseas. So they can do it, but the UN doesn't want us to do it. What? All these accords exempt China and exempt several other nations. Now, that, and the second point here is these people like Obama and like Gore building their mansions right on the seacoast shows you they actually don't believe that the seacoasts are rising. They don't believe in the climate change. It's being used. And we as idiots, they propagandize our children in school to believe this nonsense. And, I have a good friend, Willie Soon. He's one of the big guys that is known as the climate denier par excellence. He's in Massachusetts and a true physicist. And he and Lord Monckton in England and somebody else, there are three authors on this paper that's just coming out about that should put some of this to rest. I mean, they have found the linchpin on this thing, I think, and hopefully this is going to be exposed. But the problem is it won't get any press. This person coming from Sweden, the little girl that's autistic that's going to give this great, speeches about climate control and get everybody's heart in a wrench. That's all going to be front page. But but it's an evil, fascist, authoritarian takeover of the world by people that want to sell you carbon credits. In other words, it's just not real.
And the shock troops are just people who have jobs as school teachers, really. I mean, they're university researchers and on and on and on. But they're from a class of people who I would consider the least qualified to lead anybody. But Dr. Lee Heeb is our guest. Again, she's a libertarian orthopedic surgeon, and we always look forward to talking with Dr. Heeb at 2:10 every Friday. Thank you, Lee.
Hey, see you.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Let me try that again. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
There we go. It's 2:28, 28 minutes after 2 o'clock. The fabulous Denise Valentine will talk with us in the next segment. News, weather, obituaries coming up as well as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens. And they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Republican State Senator Tim Kryenbrink was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, he endorsed Senator Randy Feenstra in the race for the 4th District congressional seat currently held by Steve King.
Come the primary as well as the general election, I'll be backing Randy Feenstra as the District 4 House of Representatives representation for the Republican Party.
Kryenbrink went on to talk about how Congressman King's comments are perceived by the public.
A lot of things that Congressman King says can be blown up to a point where, some of the voters have just had enough of it. And, I'm talking to constituents. A lot of people are giving that sentiment that, maybe it's time to pull over and let somebody else have the reins.
A local woman who admitted to lying on government forms and receiving thousands of dollars in food stamps has now been court-ordered to pay that money back, according to the Northern District of Iowa's U.S. Attorney's Office. 34-year-old Fort Dodge resident Jessica Martinez Roque was sentenced earlier this week to time served and ordered to make restitution of over $34,000 to the Iowa Department of Human Services, and she also will serve a term of supervised release for 3 years. She admitted that between spring of 2014 and January of this year, she knowingly lied on the application forms to receive Supplemental Nutrition Program funding. In sports, high school football action week number 2 coming your way tonight, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. Join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as the South Central Calhoun Titans host Carroll Kemper, a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kickoff on 105.9 The Beach. On Sunny 99.7, the St. Edmunds Gales have their home opener tonight taking on North Union, a 6:45 p.m. pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Greg Woods on the call of that one. On 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers travel to Ames to take on the Little Cyclones tonight, 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff. Dodger coach Matt Miller says linebacker play is paramount tonight against the Ames passing attack.
All 4 of them guys bring it. Been here for 32 years now. Head coach here now for 16, and that's probably as good a linebacking group that I've seen us have as a whole.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Linda Smith of Fort Dodge has passed away. Linda Smith, 70 years old, of Fort Dodge, died September 5th at Trinity Regional Medical Center. Services for Linda Smith are pending at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Weather, it's 76 degrees right now. Under a sunny sky, we should see a high of 79, maybe 80. Just a beautiful day. Overnight, some clouds with a low of 56. Tomorrow, a slight chance of a shower. Then thunderstorms in the afternoon. On Sunday, a very good chance of rain. Other than that, cloudy with a high of 70. Monday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy with a high of 78. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 82. Wednesday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high of 80. And on Thursday, a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny with a high of 77. Right now, again in town, 76 degrees at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Janice Valentine is next.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
Hi, this is Erin Bentz with Neighborhood Realty. Are you thinking about selling your home but not sure who to list it with? I offer a vast knowledge of the surrounding areas, 17 years of sales and customer service experience, and I am ready to work hard for you to get your home sold. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Find our information online at neighborhood-realty.net. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I try to be the mayor of Manville. Emmerich can have mayor of Fort Dodge. I tell you, if anybody belongs on the mayor of Manville's radio show, it's Janice Valentine, the fabulous Janice Valentine. How are you, Janice?
Well, fabulous. How about you?
I know you are. Janice Valentine is a local attorney practicing primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for first consultation. She is at Valentine Law Office PC, J. Valentine at valentinelaw.net. You may contact the Janice Valentine Law Office by calling 515-955-5544. She's at 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue in Fort Dodge, or at www.valentinelaw.net. We're moving out of the summer here pretty fast, Janice. We're moving out pretty fast, I have to say.
I know. You can feel that fall crispness in the air. You know, we've had a little bit of humidity this past couple of days, but over the weekend you could sure tell it.
Oh, definitely. And I came to work early this morning, like about 6:30, and yeah, it was it really felt like fall this morning. It really did. You know, Janice, at the state fair, the state fair officials were confronted by a 40-year-old man, kind of rumpled-looking, smelling of alcohol. And he was incensed that he had seen and he had taken a video of an 11-year-old boy who was trying to load a hog onto a trailer. Now, the boy was using a whip-type thing, which is usually allowed when we're loading hogs. He was tapping the hog in the face and in the head because that's the only way those ornery suckers will get on the trailer in the first place. Well, he must have hit the hog pretty hard a couple of times because the hog's face had red welts. This 40-year-old man, I believe, though he's denied it, I believe is an animal rights activist. The Des Moines Register has picked this up and run with it. And one of the reasons they've done that is because this man, this 40-year-old man, again, who admitted to having a few beers, but he did not admit to being intoxicated. By the way, I never did either, Janice. Me drunk? Absolutely not.
Always 2 beers, officer.
Oh, just 2 beers, officer. That's right, even though I'm blowing in the breeze and there is no breeze. But he was very belligerent. Apparently, one of the fair officials felt threatened. They called the state fair police. They searched him and banned him for life. Banned
Really?
him for life from the state fair for his hostility. Do you know the story here?
This is the first I've heard of it.
Janice, you need to get out of the office a little bit more. It's been all over the Des Moines Register.
Well, I was going to say, I used to actually read the Des Moines Register, but it's become such a pamphlet anymore. That was probably the one story that was run in the Des Moines Register, I guess.
There were count them, three front page stories having to deal with the horrible abuse suffered by this hog. Janice, I'm someone who has loaded hogs onto a trailer. Worse, I've tried to get them off. They won't go. They won't go. I cannot ask them politely. I cannot beseech them, plead, beg, or threaten. You have to get in the trailer, and I don't like to do that because it doesn't smell very good in there. And then
and it's dangerous. Pigs are hard on knees. They
yes,
take
they
out
are.
knees a lot.
And they're not. And pigs, by the way, are one of the more intelligent animals. Yeah, if they don't like you, they'll try to knock you down or do all kinds of things to you. And you're right, they don't like knees. And if you're alone in a hog barn and they knock you down, you've got a real problem. A group of hogs can kill a man in a very short period of time. But what we're talking about here is an 11-year-old boy. The Des Moines Register, in its campaign, and I would call it a crusade, actually, with 3 front-page stories, and then again today with an editorial that mentions, oh, my God, the state fair was so wrong, and this 40-year-old man was correct to try to identify an 11-year-old boy as the villain. I'd have to say that paper is out of touch with our culture and consciousness here in the state of Iowa.
I would agree. I grew up on a farm and showed cattle at the fair.
Sure.
In fact, I've been at the state fair many times. I have concerns if there were actual welts left on the pig, probably using more force than is necessary to get an animal to do what it needs to do. My dad was really, really strict about, yes, we had choke chains on our halters.
Yeah.
But we were only to use that in absolute, like your cow's going to run away. That was, you were not supposed to just jerk that just willy-nilly. I think we had a whip in our barn, but I don't think I ever saw it come off the peg. That just wasn't something that happened on our farm. And, I understand this is an 11-year-old boy probably frustrated at the situation or in a hurry, more than likely.
That hog did not want to get on that trailer. I mean, really a grown...
Yeah, it's too bad an adult might have helped in intervening just because they would have more muscle. I'm making assumptions here as to the size of this boy. I mean, maybe he's as big as I am. I don't know.
No.
It's troubling that there were welts, but it's equally troubling to me that someone saw fit to make a production out of this, probably for more of their own gain than really for the pig, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, and I just don't understand the Des Moines Register's attitude.
They just got bought out by some group, and interestingly enough, they aren't reporting on it themselves. But I read that in City View, that magazine that's down in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Michael Gartner wrote about it, and they got bought out by a group that I guess is more draconian than the previous ownership. Like you have to buy your own coffee. If you are an employee of the paper, you have to buy the paper. They are not well thought of in the news agency business. So
if you believe.
Maybe that's reflected in where things are going, because maybe this was some reporter that isn't even from Iowa talking about Iowa.
Actually, it was Lee Rood. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, I often read Lee Rood's column. I before this incident, I had really put her in the category of as an objective reporter, as the Des Moines Register was ever going to have. But they put Lee Rood on this.
That really surprises me.
Yeah, and it's now that we're talking about her, I wonder if she was directed to this story to trade in on her credibility or something. I mean, Some of these ideologue media companies aren't afraid to do that, by the way.
Well, yeah, and that's unfortunate. Again, kind of highlighting why I don't get the paper anymore, because there's just not much substance there anymore. And it's not anyone's fault but management, because they've cut so many editorial jobs and reporter jobs. There's not really anyone out there pounding the pavement getting stories.
Yeah, well, media entrusts me on this. When I got into radio 35 years ago, it was a much friendlier operation, or I should say industry. The change has come because of big money was allowed into media. Bill Clinton, among other things I really don't like him for, was responsible for the 1996 Telecommunications Act. Now, in the past, one company could only own 7 newspapers, and they had to be in different states, and 7 radio stations, and they couldn't be in the same market. Those caps were blown up in the 1996, in the decade of 1996. And of course, Ronald Reagan had taken big steps to completely deregulate the industries in the 1980s. He did likewise. He blew up any regulation preventing mass ownership of media companies. For a time, Clear Channel Communications, which owned KWMT and KKZ here in town, had over 2,000 radio stations. 2,000 radio stations. Who does it serve for a media company to own 2,000 radio stations? The idea was in 1934, in the Federal Communications Act of 1934, that the radio waves and frequencies belonged to the public, and that they should serve the public good in some way. What public use is one company having 2,000 radio stations?
Yeah, well, it's bureaucracy and capitalism.
Well,
simple.
It's unchecked capitalism, though.
It is.
It's
And that highlights why it's so important, I think, for listeners too, but it's so important to vary your news sources. I love going through my radio stations, and I'll listen to Fox for a while, and then I'll listen to CNN, and I mean you need to hear your news take from various sources, not just Facebook. There really are media sources out there to kind of broaden your perspective, and also to challenge your own thoughts.
Well,
that's what we're losing when we have such group ownership. In my opinion.
We used to have little individual newspaper groups in a lot of our little towns and counties.
Oh, yeah.
And they reflected the personality of the owners, and that wasn't a bad thing. I mean, there was all kinds of things in those newspapers.
I remember reading, it was always after we had club at that's what it was called, the neighborhood club.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say what you served and dishes you used and who attended. And
those are the days.
You talked about.
Those were the days, were they? Mr. and Mrs. Charles Smith visited their daughter in Cedar Falls. Everyone had a good time. End of story.
Yep. we served, cheese sandwiches.
Cheese sandwiches, that sort of thing.
And Mary made a delicious lemon meringue pie.
And everybody knew who Mary was, and everybody probably had her pie. Those were the days. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Our guest is Janice Valentine. Yeah, the Messenger here in town is part of a much larger group. I mean, it's not a locally owned paper.
Right.
We've really lost something with when we deregulated media, and I don't know. The only people that wanted media deregulated were investment bankers like Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, by the way, was one of the people who was invested in Clear Channel, who owned 2,000 radio stations back in the 1990s. That was Bain Capital, and they bought a lot of media properties back then. And surprisingly enough, they all started to sound like Mitt Romney.
Exactly. You actually surprised me today. I thought you would lead off with the big story about the attorney in Des Moines that goes to Las Vegas on the side. Did you catch that story?
The attorney in Des Moines that went to Vegas on the slide? Well, there are a lot of you're an attorney. You've been to Las Vegas. I mean, what's the story? I did miss it.
Well, because she spends 3 weeks being a legal prostitute out there.
I didn't know that. Is this a man?
No, it's a female. She's married.
Oh, it's a
and has
female.
Children.
Oh, that's the. Oh, I've seen blurbs of that on television. She's an attractive woman. Do you know her?
I know I don't. She's
Okay.
She has to be super young. She graduated in 2017.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah, she kind of worked her way through law school being a hooker.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's now standing for prostitute rights, sex worker rights,
Yes.
or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so more power to her.
Yeah, more power to her. I still don't know what to say about it. The prostitution is another thing I think should be legal, in addition to marijuana and a few other things. But nobody's listening.
I don't disagree with you. I think there'd be a lot safer, and you'd have to think there'd be a lot less trafficking going on if it was legal. And plus, it could be regulated that way.
Absolutely. And prostitutes, I mean, nobody looks out for them. They can be attacked, beat up, all kinds of things. I mean, whatever you think of them morally, they don't deserve to be beat up or abused or killed, for God's sake, and it happens all over the country. So I would, it's one of those victimless crimes. I mean, come on, get off it. But I did want to talk with you, and Mike Sexton's coming up in the next half hour. I haven't talked with Mike all summer, so I look forward to talking with Mike. But yesterday, Tim Kreinbrink was here. Now, since you live in a cave, you probably didn't hear Tim on the air yesterday, and he endorsed Randy Feenstra for the Republican nomination for 4th District Congressman. Of course, that would mean he's not supporting Steve King. And I'm beginning to wonder if this isn't the end of Steve King.
Yeah, I think his days are going to be numbered. I don't think he's going to have the funding to get the job done this go around.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of it is, even his supporters, my understanding is, are backing away for the mere fact that he's kind of shunned himself out there. So what good is he doing us, really? He's not on any committees. He's not being approached by anyone about committees. He was somewhat of a pariah to the rest of the Iowa gang, as I understand it, before many of these other incidents. And so this has certainly not helped that traction. So, I'm pleased to hear that Tim is taking a harder look at this and making a judgment call. I think Feenstra would be a much better representative for our district than what King has been.
Well, we'll see. I've met Randy several times, and he's quite the character. And Tim was on yesterday saying, well, yeah, Randy and I are both Dutch, and we're both tall, so there you go. But Randy is a business instructor up at Dordt College, and I think we know somebody that went to Dordt College. Isn't that Marlo Brandehorst, old alma mater up there? I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
Yeah, that could be.
And Randy is a good. I don't know if he's a CPA or if he has an accounting background, but he's very good with tax law and those sorts of things. So from a Republican perspective, he's great. He's gonna want to cut taxes and balance the budget and all these other things. Republicans.
Well, yeah, we can't assume that the Republicans are all about balancing the budget, because clearly what's going on right now is far from balancing the budget, at least on the federal level.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just, Tim is influential in his own way. He's influential in the party. He's a very likable guy. He's a very competent and hardworking guy. And I thought it was significant, very significant, that Tim would come in here, make a special trip in here, and endorse Randy Feenstra. So of course, I quizzed him. What's your problem with Steve King? And he was cool about it. He wouldn't. He really wouldn't tell me. But he did say that the congressman has said some things that have put a bad light on the 4th District. And,
absolutely. And again, if we're going to be paying somebody to sit in that chair, we want them to be effective. We want them to be a voice for our area,
yes.
And that's not happening anymore.
No, it isn't. Absolutely. And I'm not. I have not been in favor of Beto O'Shelton. So I hope that the seat isn't flipped to the Democratic Party, because I don't believe Mr. Shelton is qualified to be our congressman. It takes more than emotion. It takes more than great stories about your growing up in Iowa and pitching on baseball diamonds around the 4th District in the state of Iowa. You have to have some sort of professional background, in my opinion, or business background. Steve King, I don't think, spent a single day in college, but he was a successful businessman and state senator before he ran for Congress. Now that's the sort of resume we like to see from our representatives if we're going to take them seriously. Randy Feenstra has been a state senator for a long time. He actually has an outstanding education, and he knows exactly what he's talking about and where he wants to go. I don't always agree with Randy either, but I'm not in favor of Mr. Schulten for the reasons I guess I just mentioned. Do you know anything at all about Schulten or not?
I really don't. I think I'm going to have to take. I definitely voted for him over King. I know that. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But in terms of between him and Feenstra, I'm going to have to take a look at what their positions are, what their ideas are. I guess I'm more a person that I don't necessarily care all about your background and your political experience. I care more about what you bring to the table in terms of your ideas and where you see us moving forward. And clearly, I guess most of the country doesn't really care too much about pedigree because, look what's happened. We're not all that picky about experience.
Apparently not.
and business success. So, I think I'm going to have to take a look, and the pool could get much bigger, of course, too. I've heard other names bandied about, both in terms of the Republican primary and in the Democratic race as well. So, it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up. But it certainly looks, from my perspective, it looks good for District 4 in that it looks like it will not be King again. I just don't see it happening with the seat shift that's happened. And Tim's not going to be standing alone in that endorsement. No. He's going to have plenty of company.
I will get a reality check here, though. Steve King holds a solid 35% in Congressional District 4, especially in the northwest part of the state.
Oh, yeah. My parents love him.
Oh, yeah, up around Orange City and those places. They are Dutch communities, and by the way, they're some of the nicest little towns you'll ever see in Iowa.
Yep.
But they are.
Here's what's interesting to me. Like I will ask them questions about how can you still support King after him saying this, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Their news does not report these gaffes that he makes up in that area, or else my parents just don't watch the news. But it is very interesting to me how these types of stories just do not get reported up in that neck of the woods.
Well, I want to remind you, Janice, and this is the truth, these aren't gaffes. This is what he means.
I know. The scary part is that's what comes out of his mouth. I don't even want to think about what's still in his head.
I asked him when he was here a couple of weeks just after he'd been out in Urbandale talking, and I said, you are portraying rape as a positive thing. I know that wasn't your intention. I know you share my revulsion with the crime of rape, but you're making it sound like some good can come out of rape because a new child is joining us. Everybody's happy about a new birth, but for God's sake, man, you cannot be talking about rape as if it were a good thing.
And he usually doubles down. He's got that in common with the president. When he gets called out on something, he doubles down on it and reinforces it even more.
Well, there's one other thing Steve King's got going for him. He is a fighter. I mean, he'll fight, and he's fighting right now. And I think he's got an uphill battle, but we'll just have to see. Anyway, Janice Valentine is our guest, and the Hawkeyes are playing Rutgers tomorrow. What's your guess here, Janice?
I'm going to take the Hawkeyes by, let's say, 14.
14, I think, their favorite. Gosh, I just looked up the over and under on the Hawkeyes and Rutgers, and it was probably more than 14, although I can't remember right now. We have sports gambling, in Iowa now, so we can put down bets.
That's right, we do. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's hard. For me as a fan, it's hard to get up for a Rutgers game. I still can't fathom them in our conference. So I'm just thinking it might be a little tougher game to get, geared up for. So.
Oh, I'll go out to sports page or Lefties or someplace and kind of pay attention, but not real close.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be on, but I will be just kind of marginally watching probably.
Our guest has been our friend Janice Valentine. Thank you so much, Janice.
Have a great weekend, Mike.
You too. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. Nobody scrutinizes performance like you do. And acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. The consistent performance of Asgrow brand soybeans helps to keep your profitability out in front. Offering a suite of tailored integrated solutions and 100% exclusive genetics for strong yield potential. Plus the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the #1 soybean system planted by farmers. Featuring XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology to control more weeds than any other soybean system, so you can spray your fields with confidence. Ask your dealer how much further you can grow when Asgrow leads the way. XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
Heading into the weekend, and it's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be a beautiful day, 76 degrees right now. Maybe we'll get to 79 or 80. Does it really matter? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the Scrapster himself will be with us in the next half hour. I'm talking Representative Mike Sexton, our friend, and we look forward to that. He'll be calling in about 3:10. This is KVFD Fort Dodge, 3 o'clock.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD Fort Dodge.
To the rescue in North Carolina. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. County officials say residents stranded by flooding on Ocracoke Island will be evacuated by air. There was an evacuation ordered before Hurricane Dorian swept in, but an undetermined number of residents ended up riding it out and getting trapped. Dorian made landfall earlier today over Cape Hatteras as a Category 1 storm. Dozens of roads remain closed.
Especially in those coastal communities, we saw some flooding in those low dip spots, as well as some tree limbs, larger tree limbs that were down in the road.
Fox's Jeff Paul in Topsail Beach, the storm knocking out power to more than 300,000 in the Carolinas and Virginia. Thousands are waiting to evacuate devastated parts of the Bahamas, even as the search for many more still unaccounted for continues.
And this is not the kind of hurricane that just tears the roof off a house. It's the kind of hurricane that hit here with 185-mile-per-hour winds for 2 days.
Fox's Steve Harrigan on Abaco Island, where Dorian laid waste to thousands of homes.
This was a very poor area. A lot of Haitians living in this part of the Bahamas, in this town on Abaco Island. So you get a sense that people didn't know how many people were here. They don't know how many people are gone, and no one really seems to be looking for them very hard. Now, we did see some real acts of compassion and charity at the port. A lot of people from the Bahamas bringing their own private boats. It's almost like a flotilla of desperate people trying to get out of here.
There are airlifts of survivors continuing in some areas, the U.S. Coast Guard helping with that. So far, the government in the Bahamas confirming only 30 deaths, but warning that more are likely. A mixed finish on Wall Street. The Dow up 69 points at the bell, just shy of 26,800. The NASDAQ finishing slightly lower. America is listening to Fox News.
Dell has something extra for small businesses, up to 45% off during their semi-annual sale. It's a perfect time to update to Windows 10 with huge deals on business computers featuring Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything. Call Small Business Technology Advisors who can help you achieve your business goals affordably with low monthly payments on the right tech for you. Just call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL, or visit Dell.com/business deals for semi-annual savings.
When you
you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Number of people sick with respiratory illnesses believed to be linked to vaping now tops 400 in 33 states. But the specific cause remains a mystery, prompting a new warning from federal health officials.
The CDC is urging the public to consider not using e-cigarettes until its current investigation is complete, especially e-cigarettes, it says, purchased off the streets, warning adding any chemicals or mixing together any substances such as nicotine and THC could be fatal. The latest development this afternoon, the CDC is aware that vitamin E in some vape products is a possible cause of extreme illness in some patients, but so far the CDC is stressing that no single product or substance is being blamed.
Fox's Matt Finn, Indiana today becoming the third state to report a death possibly linked to vaping. Just weeks after a $5 billion fine to settle privacy concerns, Facebook is facing another probe over possible antitrust issues.
We heard from the New York Attorney General Letitia James announcing her own investigation with a bipartisan team of attorneys general from states including Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, North Carolina, looking into whether Facebook endangers consumer data, reduced quality of consumer choice, and also increased the price of advertising.
Fox Business Network's Hillary Vaughn. Meantime, the Texas Attorney General announcing that state's own probe of big tech firms. The Fed chief says the outlook for the U.S. economy remains good.
So we're not forecasting or expecting a recession.
Though at a conference in Switzerland, Jay Powell also said they continue to monitor risks, including trade policy, likely a reference to the trade dispute with China. Powell also emphasizing again that politics does not play a role in Fed decisions. This, as President Trump continues to criticize him over interest rate decisions. Again, a mixed finish on Wall Street, the Dow up 69. Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Republican State Senator Tim Kryenbrink was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, he endorsed Senator Randy Feenstra in the race for the 4th District congressional seat currently held by Steve King.
Come the primary as well as the general election, I'll be backing Randy Feenstra as the District 4 House of Representatives representation for the Republican Party.
Kryenbrink went on to talk about how Congressman King's comments are perceived by the public.
A lot of things that Congressman King says can be blown up to a point where, some of the voters have just had enough of it. And, I'm talking to constituents. A lot of people are giving that sentiment that, maybe it's time to pull over and let somebody else have the reins.
A local woman who admitted to lying on government forms and receiving thousands of dollars in food stamps has now been court-ordered to pay that money back, according to the Northern District of Iowa's U.S. Attorney's Office. 34-year-old Fort Dodge resident Jessica Martinez Roque was sentenced earlier this week to time served and ordered to make restitution of over $34,000 to the Iowa Department of Human Services, and she also will serve a term of supervised release for 3 years. She admitted that between spring of 2014 and January of this year, she knowingly lied on the application forms to receive Supplemental Nutrition Program funding. In sports, high school football action, week number 2, coming your way tonight, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. Join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as the South Central Calhoun Titans host Carroll Kemper, a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kickoff on 105.9 The Beach. On Sunny 99.7, the St. Edmunds Gales have their home opener tonight, taking on North Union, a 6:45 p.m. pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Greg Woods on the call of that one. On 92.1 The Eagle, The Fort Dodge Dodgers travel to Ames to take on the Little Cyclones tonight. 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff. Dodger coach Matt Miller says linebacker play is paramount tonight against the Ames passing attack.
And all four of them guys bring it. Been here for 32 years now. The head coach here now for 16, and that's probably as good a linebacking group that I've seen us have as a whole.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 79. North winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 56. Tonight, partly cloudy. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, 75. Chance for scattered rain showers. Sunday, chance for scattered thunderstorms on Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 77.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-293-1479 now. That's 800-293-1479 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-293-1479 to learn more. 800-293-1479. That's 800-293-1479. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Doors are being slammed in your face, and bad credit is holding you back from buying a house, car, even getting a credit card. $99 can put your credit back to a 720 or higher. That's right, just $99. Bankruptcy, tax liens, judgments, and even late pays can be removed from credit reports by calling the Giving Days Foundation. A nonprofit organization is here to help. Federal law allows you to challenge each and every item on your credit report. We'll recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 and repair your personal credit for free. Just be one of the first 10 callers. Take our personal credit challenge. Get your credit score to a 720. 800-543-5772. Call now to recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 and repair your personal credit for free. Call now. 800-543-5772. Don't miss this great free credit repair. Just be one of the first 10 callers. 800-543-5772.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Like it or not, winter will be here before you know it. Is your roof ready for the heavy snow and possible ice jams? Be safe, not sorry. Call Spring Valley Roofing and Gutters today. They'll check your roof for potential problems with no obligation. If you've noticed a new stain on the ceiling or you've had water coming in when it rains, you've got a leak. Take care of it now and get Spring Valley's 10-year labor warranty and 50-year material warranty. Both are backed by the manufacturer. Spring Valley Roofing and Gutters, your GAF Master Elite contractor in and around Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right. I'm sure we're the only radio program in the state of Iowa, if not the entire Midwest and perhaps the country, that has 60 rounds of freedom at all times. And I welcome Mr. Freedom himself to the show, Representative Mike Sexton. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Mike.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. I haven't seen you all summer, buddy. What have you been doing?
I've been working really hard. We had a lot of stuff that needed to be done on the farm. That we ran a pretty active campaign last year, and I left a lot of things go. We've been building fence, and we just been really busy.
Who works on the farm with you? Is it just you, or do you have help, or what?
Yeah, I got a hired man that helps me. This summer I had a young man that goes to Iowa State. He helped me build a lot of fence, and then my son Ben helps me. So we've been busy.
Does Ben farm full time, or what else, or does he do something else?
No, he works at Cargill there in in the outside Fort Dodge. He works there full time and then helps me. He's got 4 days on and 4 days off.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. So, as you know, Tim Kreinbrink was in here yesterday and endorsed Randy Feenster over Steve King. What do you think of that?
Well, Senator Kreinbrink told me he was going to do that, and that's fine. Mike, it's been my experience. Endorsements don't really mean a lot, I don't think. And the senator that's his decision. He can do what he wants. I don't think it's the right decision. I just have never supported, Senator Veenstra. From what I've been with him and down in Des Moines, he's a lot more about himself than he is about the rest of us. So I don't know. Maybe all politicians are like that. I don't know.
I don't know. I really, and I'm not trying to say this to suck up, you know me. I don't think that's what you and Tim are about necessarily. You all have your personal interests because you're human beings, for God's sake. But I really think that you and Tim do your best to serve, and I know Ann Meyer does. I mean, of course there's bad apple politicians. There's bad apple everything, but that doesn't make any difference. I don't know Randy Feenster like you do. He was in the Senate probably when you were in the Senate, right?
No, he came after I left. So
okay.
I've only known him from being in the House. But Mike, here's how there's really not a lot of there's no polling going on. There is polling going on, but we're not seeing any results, which I guarantee you, Senator Veenstra and the young man from Sioux City and Richards, and I think there's 4 of them now. Those guys are all doing polling, and I got to believe, because we don't ever get to hear anything about those polls, they're not doing very good. I think Congressman King must still be ahead in the polls when people get polled, and I think right or wrong, whether you like Congressman King or you don't like him, I guess the way I see this unfolding is the people the Republicans that really don't want Steve King in there anymore, I think those votes are going to get all divided up amongst those 4 in the primary, and I think Congressman King ends up, winning the primary, and then he wins the general election. I go to a lot of things, and everybody in District 10 sees me all over the place. But Congressman King's, different than the previous few years when he didn't attend a lot of things. He's in Congressional District 4 a lot now, Mike. He's doing town hall meetings. He's doing, Farm Bureau meetings, and he's making his presence seen. So, and I'm glad he's out there doing that too. So.
Oh, he has to do it. I think he has to do it.
You're right. He does.
He has to do that to win the primary, first of all. And J.D. Schulten, though his resume is a mile wide and a quarter-inch deep, and I don't think he's qualified to hold any sort of political office. He's a very hard worker. He's visiting all the Democrats in all the little towns and counties in the 4th District. He's getting them excited, getting them on his side. He's a good campaigner. He is a good. I don't think he has a compelling story to tell us at all, other than Democratic Party talking points on health care.
Yeah, but, he's never done anything.
No.
He played semi-pro baseball, and he's he's a court something. But he's never held hasn't even been elected to dog catcher.
No,
so.
And hasn't really had a real job. He was a paralegal for a time with at least 1, maybe 2 law firms, and now the last time he was here, he told me he was a freelance paralegal. I don't even know what that means. Freelance paralegal? I mean,
I don't either. You should ask your friend Janice Valentine. Maybe she knows what that would be.
Well, Janice was on just before you. She was your warm-up act.
Okay.
We talked about a lot of other things, but we didn't talk about that. I didn't really. Well, we did talk about Tim Kreinbrink's endorsement, but that's about it. I think Janice is more liberal than you and I, but we're pretty conservative guys. I still think Janice leans a little bit to the Republican side. I really do. And she's a smart person, and I don't think she's going to be sucked in by J.D. Scholten's song and dance. I don't, anyway. I do want to talk to you, and our guest is Representative Mike Sexton. He joins us by phone. I talked with Janice about this. I'm a little incensed at the Des Moines Register once again. They're carrying on this crusade. During the state fair, they had this 40-year-old animal rights activist who apparently lives with his mother or has some kind of mother thing going on there. And he has a few beers, and he looks kind of disheveled and unshaven. And he's running around the livestock area. You know this story?
No, I don't. I never. That's Becky and I did not to interrupt, but we took a quick trip to California to see the grandkids, kind of during the state fair. So we didn't make it to the state fair this year, and we were gone. So any news that occurred then, Mike, I kind of was out of the state, so I don't know the story.
Well, here, I'll bring you up to speed real fast. This animal rights activist, and he says he's not an animal rights activist. He previously lived in Chicago and recently moved to Des Moines. And he went to the state fair, and he was videotaping in the livestock area. Well, he came across an 11-year-old boy, and this young boy is trying to get a hog into a trailer. And guess what, Mike? The hog doesn't want to get on that damn trailer. Now, there's a surprise, isn't it? And this boy has a short whip, and he's tapping him in the head, tap, 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 and he probably tapped him hard a few times. But Mike, you and I have both loaded hogs, and I'll tell you right now, I have done more than tapped a hog on the nose to get him onto a trailer. The suckers, they won't get on, and I'll boot them on if I need to. And I don't want to do that because they're money. But human beings get frustrated. I didn't see this little boy get frustrated. He was just tapping and tapping, and apparently there were, and I saw the video, there were welts on one side of the hog's face. Well, this 40-year-old guy, again, who'd been drinking, takes his video to the director of the state fair and a couple of other people, and he's just incensed. He's raising all kinds of hell, and he wants something done about this right now. He wasn't going to leave, and apparently one of the fair people, a female, got a little concerned about her personal safety and brought in the state fair police. The state fair police searched him, and he's showing his video to everybody. But anybody who's ever worked with animals has seen a lot worse than that. I am not in favor of animal abuse for a number of reasons, moral and economic. I am not in favor of misusing or abusing animals in any way. But the fact of the matter is, animals are animals, and they're unpredictable and uncooperative. You're not going to ask a hog to get on the trailer. So anyway, the state fair police, they come, they search this guy, and he's still raising hell. And after consultation, he's kicked out of the fair for life. Now, the Des Moines Register has had 3 front-page stories about this incident.
I'm sure they have.
3. And in today's Register, they just came down hard about the cruelty and the state fair's overreaction, and the state fair people are petty and vindictive, and on and on and on again. Where is the Des Moines Register located? Is it in Iowa? I mean, raising animals and moving them around are part of our culture. This is what we do in Iowa. We raise food, and yes, hogs are food. The PETA people are involved, and they've asked us to consider seriously switching to what is a prize to become vegetarians. And that's what this is all about. This was a stage incident, and the Des Moines Register is trying to make an 11-year-old boy the villain, and this boozed up 40-year-old the hero. I about had it with these people.
Well, Mike, it's the Des Moines Register. I don't even read the Des Moines Register. I used to subscribe to it. I don't have anything to do with it, and that's the reason why. And you know that. And I doubt if that helps them. They're barely keeping their head above water, and I doubt if this helps them, but maybe it'll sell 2 or 3 more newspapers.
Well, I don't see. There is a business part of media, of course. You have to go out and sell advertising. Now, who are they going to sell advertising to? Who are the Des Moines Register? Hi there, we're campaigning for vegans. We're giving plenty of space in our paper to vegans and to animal rights groups. Buy advertising with us. Now, this is in Iowa, Mike. Who the hell is going to do that?
I know. Well, you should. I shouldn't tell this story, but this morning I sold some cull ewes and a couple of my old rams, and Becky got home last night and she saw me out there trying to get stuff loaded by myself. She said, "Do you want any help?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great, honey." Anyway, we were trying to load 3 ewes, and they are older ewes, and they're big.
Yeah.
And one of them, I don't know if there's such a thing as a challenged ewe, but she's crazy. She's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Becky, "You got to watch her, Becky." Anyway, but we had a hog panel curved, and we're walking them to the trailer, and this old ewe turned around and came right at that hog panel, jumped up on it, and of course that just took Becky. She just went flying, smacked her into the barn.
Oh no!
Ripped the corner. She's lucky she didn't get hurt real bad, because the corner of the hog panel caught her shirt, ripped her shirt.
Whoa!
And when she finally kind of got adjusted, she looks at me and she said, "This is why I don't like sheep."
Well, I don't have a lot of experience with sheep, but I know they can kick if they decide to.
So this old girl, I don't know, she put her head down and she just ran right at us. But anyway, she went to Gowrie today, so we don't have to worry about her anymore. So.
You don't? Do you have hogs on your farm?
No, we don't. We can't really have hogs, Mike, because Becky's got to maintain her biosecurity. She goes to so many different, producers and meets with them that we can't really have. It'd be hard for her to stay clean, from a biosecurity stance.
Well, I never thought of that. That's probably true. And with the African swine fever in other parts of the world, we don't want that over here at all.
Nope. So we don't. All we have is sheep.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. How long have you had sheep?
Oh, probably over 10 years now. And then we just purchased some registered Katahdins, which are what we raise, and so we're going to start raising purebred Katahdins now. So that's one reason we've been building a lot of fences and trying to get pins rearranged, and so that's what we've been up to.
Sure. Where do you buy lamb in Fort Dodge? You brought me over those lamb chops and a lamb roast. It was good. I don't know where to get it.
I went to a seminar here about a month ago, and I think some of the Walmarts, Mike, are starting to now carry, it's like pre-marinated lamb, and we had some at this seminar, and I tell you, it was really good. So you might want to try, Walmart, and I don't know about, I've never really seen it in Fairway, I guess, but.
Well, I'm a little mad at Walmart this week. Any guy who's on the air saying he's got 60 rounds of freedom all the time isn't going to be too pleased with Walmart here in the last week. They've told people they're going to stop selling certain types of ammunition and guns, and you can't open carry in there anymore. And I'm as appalled as anybody about the gun violence, but this is virtue signaling. This is nothing. It's going to accomplish nothing.
Yeah, it is, and that's right, Mike. And that's, and I'm glad the president, he's got everybody wound up when he talks about red flag laws, and I will tell my, freedom-loving Second Amendment folks that are in House District 10 that I'm not going to support any red flag movement in the state of Iowa, and I just don't think there'll be an appetite. It's just, there's just a lot of other things, Mike, that we can look at besides, throwing people under the bus. I think that I've talked to a few law enforcement people and they're concerned about any red flag movement because, the first thing that'll happen is somebody gets mad at somebody and makes up something and says, oh, he was going to go out to his pickup and get his gun. I'm really scared. And the next thing you know, that guy loses his guns, and then he has to pay to get his guns back. The other person might have been just making up a story because he was mad, and then the other guy's going to have lawyer fees. The whole thing is just, to me, is just a huge old can of worms.
Yeah, I think that's right. I one of these days, I'm going to have somebody explain to me what common sense gun legislation is. That's the liberal talking point. Common sense gun legislation. Okay, tell me what it is. Well, it's common sense gun legislation.
Well, I think it'd get rid of guns.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Common sense gun legislation is give us your guns and we're going to take them away from you.
That's right.
That's common sense.
Well, and the immigration system is broken. We have to have immigration reform. What that is amnesty. That's all that is.
Yeah, I know it. It's a crazy world out there.
Mike, it's great to talk to you. Say hello to Becky for me.
I sure will, Mike. Thanks for letting me be on today.
Oh, it's always great to talk to you. Let us know anytime when you can be on. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. I'm making radio great again, perhaps single-handedly right here in Fort Dodge. It's 3:29. Representative Ann Meyer will be with us in the next half hour. In the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Randy Kuhlman and Nevin Mulholland about sports. Or I should say, I'll talk about sports, and they will worship my wisdom. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Meaningful memorialization starts when loved ones talk about what matters most.
Grandpa, this card asks, what was your favorite vacation?
Well, we didn't go on vacation when I was a kid, but our family did go fishing when we could. My dad could always find the best fishing holes, and he taught me how to clean the fish, too.
You mean you ate the fish you caught?
You bet.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Before you expanded your business, before you shipped that 1,000th order, before you shipped that first order, you printed that new business pitch. Staples has everything your business needs to get you from here to there. Right now, get $25 off when you buy 2 HP toner cartridges and free overnight delivery on HP toner when you order online at staples.com. Staples, here we get you there.
Ends 9/7/19. Restrictions may apply. Free delivery excludes holidays and weekends. Order by 5 p.m. See store or staples.com/toner savings for details.
Hi, this is Stacy Weirda, broker owner of Neighborhood Realty. Are you thinking about selling your home but not sure who to list with? Well, I have an amazing team of agents with years of experience in 2 locations, all devoted to your real estate needs. Neighborhood Realty covers a vast...
I will be. Hi, Mike. Yeah. It said call in at 3:30. You did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's quite all right. Could you call back? Let's see. I'm running commercials in the news, so it'll be 7 or 8 minutes before I'm ready for you.
You want me to come in?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll come in.
Thanks.
Bye.
Primary as well as a general election, I'll be back in Randy Feenster as the District 4 House of Representatives representation for the Republican Party.
Brian Brink went on to talk about how Congressman King's comments are perceived by the public.
A lot of things that Congressman King says can be blown up to a point where, some of the voters have just had enough of it. And, I'm talking to constituents. A lot of people are giving that sentiment that, maybe it's time to pull over and let somebody else have the reins.
A local woman who admitted to lying on government forms and receiving thousands of dollars in food stamps has now been court-ordered to pay that money back, according to the Northern District of Iowa's U.S. Attorney's Office. 34-year-old Fort Dodge resident Jessica Martinez Roku was sentenced earlier this week to time served and ordered to make restitution of over $34,000 to the Iowa Department of Human Services, and she also will serve a term of supervised release for 3 years. She admitted that between spring of 2014 and January of this year, she knowingly lied on the application forms to receive supplemental nutrition program funding. In sports, high school football action, week number 2, coming your way tonight, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. Join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as the South Central Calhoun Titans host Carroll Kemper, a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kickoff on 105.9 The Beach. On Sunny 99.7, the St. Edmunds Gales have their home opener tonight, taking on North Union, a 6:45 p.m. pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Greg Woods on the call of that one. On 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers travel to Ames to take on the Little Cyclones tonight, 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff. Dodger coach Matt Miller says linebacker play is paramount tonight against the Ames passing attack.
And all 4 of them guys bring it. Been here for 32 years now. The head coach here now for 16, and that's probably as good a linebacking group that I've seen us have as a whole.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 79. North winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 50. Tonight, partly cloudy. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, 75. Chance for scattered rain showers. Sunday, chance for scattered thunderstorms on Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 77.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 4 cents at 342.5. December down 3 1/4 at 355.5. March corn down 3 at 368 3/4. May down 3 1/4 at 377.5. September soybeans down 4 3/4 at 845. November down 3 3/4 at 857 3/4. January down 3 1/2 at 872. March down 2 3/4 at 886. September wheat closed down 3 3/4 at 460 1/4. Soybean meal down $1.50 a ton at $287.20. October live cattle down the $3 limit at $94.87. December down $2.47 at $99.75. September feeders down $105 at $133.35. October down $142 at $130.90. October lean hogs down $280 at $63.50. December limit down at $62.47. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
A new study says egg consumption is linked with heart disease, but the overwhelming majority of studies in recent years say cholesterol is not a concern. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Greg Herbruck is president of Herbruck's Poultry Ranch in Michigan.
The egg has become a superfood from being, in the olden days when it was had concern over cholesterol. We've discovered in sciences that those two really aren't connected, and really egg consumption is on the way up. So as our population increases and people enjoy more eggs, there's plenty of opportunity for growth for the egg industry.
Eggs are high in protein, vitamins, and minerals. The 2015 dietary guidelines for Americans put no daily limit on dietary cholesterol, and people should not be concerned about eggs. Herbruck says what they feed hens can determine even more nutrients.
The hen is very good at converting what she eats and put it in the egg. So you can adjust the fat levels and those sorts of things, and add some of the things like vitamin D. You can raise the vitamin D in the egg by adding more in the diet.
The American Egg Board says studies have shown that eggs can play a role in weight management, muscle strength, healthy pregnancy, brain function, eye health, and more. The authors of the newest study suggest eggs should be eaten in moderation. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Using the synergy of corn management factors to increase yield. Hello everyone, I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Farmers know the management factors that help improve yield, but research from the University of Illinois shows that when each factor is enhanced, they work together to create even more profit for the producer. In this Managing for Profit, crop science professor Fred Below will explain how focusing on one management factor alone won't outweigh the decrease in commodity prices. More after this on Brownfield.
Hindsight is a powerful tool. We can learn a lot from it. Like always read the instructions. Don't be afraid to ask for directions. Fill the tank before you get way out in the field, and it can help improve our foresight, especially on the farm. At NK Seeds, we analyze past data to provide top-performing seed choices for your field's future and bottom line. Contact your local NK retailer or learn more at nkseeds.com, delivering technology, genetics, and value.
Take control of your tarp and upgrade your manual tarp system to electric with a Rolltech electric tarp conversion by AgriCover Inc. Save time and increase productivity by tarping on the go. This system operates with the convenient push of a button, keeping your driver inside the cab and out of dust, rain, and harm's way. Upgrade your existing tarp to electric today to stay protected, clean, and on schedule. For more information or to find a dealer near you, call 1-800-233-4655 or visit rolltechelectric.com.
University of Illinois professor Fred Below tells Brownfield, in recent research, they focused on 5 factors that provide a framework for understanding the value of agronomic management inputs to corn yield. Those include fertility, nitrogen, population, fungicide application, and row spacing. Below's team enhanced each of the factors and compared the system to a standard management system used by most producers.
And we put all those packaged together over 6 years in a lot of locations. We got a 51 bushel yield advantage.
He says they increased plant density to 44,000 plants per acre by using 20-inch rows. Below tells Brownfield the biggest takeaway from their research is the added yield advantage from the synergy of all 5 factors combined.
Yeah, so the idea is it a teamwork approach? You know, when you put multiple factors together, do they work as part of a team? And that's been a big focus of our research. We've looked at the value of each factor individually, and when we look at the individual value of each of those 5 factors and we summarize it together over a number of years and locations, we see that the 5 factors are worth 38 bushels. But when we put them all together, they're worth 51 bushels. And that clearly shows you that there is a synergy, that factors work together to sort of enhance the value of each of the other factors.
Below says with low commodity prices, farmers have to make every adjustment they can to get higher yields.
Farmers know the things that impacts yield. And I think what farmers want to do is they want to say, well, what one thing can I do? And sadly, there's no one thing they can do to increase yield. I mean, if they're doing something wrong and they correct one thing, it can make a big difference. But anybody that goes to the next level, it's a sort of a systems approach. Obviously, the factors that have the biggest impact are going to differ depending on their soil type or their weather. So they sort of have to play around themselves with what their limiting factor is. But it all comes down to feeding and managing and protecting more plants. It's not rocket science, it's the basic things that growers are already doing. But when they do it all together, that's where we see this synergy and this enhanced yield. And I wish prices were higher, but the only way now with lower than we like prices is to have more bushels.
That was Fred Below with the University of Illinois, and I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Ag News for America.
This is a cow whose milk became everyone's favorite cheese at the craft fair. But cheese only lasts so long. The impression a small business makes needs to last much longer. That's why Vistaprint is offering 500 truly personalized business cards starting at $9.99. Choose from hundreds of fresh designs tailored to your type of company, or upload your own. The choice is yours. The time is now. Get 500 business cards starting at $9.99 with promo code 9696. That's promo code 9696 at Vistaprint.com. Vistaprint. Own the now.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
When a loved one is having a medical emergency, a few minutes can be the difference between life and death. With Iowa facing a health professional shortage, emergency care may be farther away than you think. That's why insurance profits shouldn't matter more than people. Over 117 million Americans depend on air medical transport during an emergency. But insurance companies are refusing to pay for this life-saving service. Call Senators Ernst and Grassley and tell them to support emergency air medical transport, paid for by Alliance for Access to Critical Care.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Okay, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Don. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth. So if you're looking for truth, you've come to the right place, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me in truth today is Representative Ann Meyer. How are you, Ann?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
Always good to see you. You brought
Thank
a guest.
I
You
did.
brought a guest. Come up here to the mic now. There it is right there. It won't bite you. There it is.
I brought my friend Diana Willerth. It's her birthday.
Right. Now, it's your birthday?
Yes, it is.
So, are you going to tell me what you're doing for your birthday?
We're going for mani-pedis after this.
You're going for a pedicure?
Yes.
That's not the way men celebrate their birthdays, but that's, I understand. We have a different set of priorities here. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
There's not a chance in the world you're going to tell me how old you are.
54.
50. Oh, you only look 53. Come on. Come on. You look. Is your husband a doctor?
Yes, he is.
That's what I thought. Is his name Mitch or Mike?
Michael.
Michael, right.
Mhm.
I talked with him on this program a long time ago when we were talking about Canadian health care.
Yes.
And as opposed to health care in the United States. Both you and he were educated in Canada.
Yes.
And he graduated from medical school in Canada. Am I correct in that?
University of Saskatchewan,
University
Saskatoon.
All right, just a little bit south of Saskatoon. See, I know all these grades. That was an old country western song. But anyway, I remember distinctly to this day, and he and I talked at length, and it was easy for me to talk to him. I should get him back on the air again. Tell him to please come around again. Or he was here a couple of times, and he explained all the positives of Canadian healthcare and healthcare in the United States, the negatives of both systems.
Mm-hmm.
And since he'd grown up in Canada, been educated in Canada, worked in Canada as a physician, at the end of the interview, I said, now, after everything we've talked about, which country do you believe has the better healthcare system? And he paused. He thought about it for a couple of minutes and said, I'd say the United States still does, because the United States can deliver it a little quicker than Canada can for some reason. As I recall, that's what he said. I'm sure he said that he would prefer the United States system. And I even spoke to him about he can probably make more money in the United States as opposed to in the Canadian system. I don't remember what he said to that. But he's here, so that must say something.
Yeah, we wanted to live in a smaller community to raise our family. So if we had stayed in Canada, we'd have been in a bigger center.
Would you have been placed there, or would you apply for work there, or how does that work?
Well, you apply, but they only have surgery in the bigger centers because he's specialist.
Yeah, what does he do? Orthopedic?
He's a general and vascular.
Vascular, sir. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have had to work in a larger town.
Yes.
There was no option for a town the size of Fort Dodge in Canada.
No, not for vascular surgery.
Why is that?
Because it's government run and they keep it a bigger center. They will fund it and just keeps it.
They want to centralize the specialists.
Yes.
Really? Well, how big is Saskatoon?
Right now, it's probably 300,000.
Oh, that's a good-sized town.
Yeah.
Good-sized town.
Yeah.
And did you come from Saskatoon to here?
He did his training in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
And then he did his vascular fellowship in London, Ontario. And when he was done vascular, we came here.
Okay.
So from the east.
Did he practice in Canada or in the United States before coming here?
This was his first.
This was his first job.
Mhm.
You guys have been here a while then.
22 years.
22 years. Not trying to make you feel uncomfortable over there. You probably didn't come in with the idea of talking with me on your birthday, for crying out loud.
I was going to sit quietly in the corner.
Is that what you're going to do? Well,
I think it's quite a nice birthday present to
I
talk
think
to
it
Mike
is.
Devine on your birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's huge. That's what all the girls want. Oh, let's go talk to Mike Devine on the radio. Yeah. I'm already getting texts with some other Canadian guy here. Diane is 2 weeks younger than Anne.
It's negligible, really.
I was going to mention that.
Oh, yeah. Well, those 2 weeks can be crucial. You never know. You never know. Well, I had not representative, but I had Senator Tim Kreinbrink on.
I listened.
Yesterday. And as you know, he endorsed Randy Feenstra, State Senator Randy Feenstra.
Yes.
Over Steve King. I tried to get you to give a response or an endorsement, but Ann's not doing it. Ann's not doing it.
I'm not.
You're just going to be neutral.
And it's interesting that you just give Feenstra and King as an option. Jeremy Taylor's running also, and he's got a good following in the West. Maybe not as great right now as Feenstra, but he is also another.
Well, Steve King has a solid 35. His support in the Orange City area up that way, Lamar's, is pretty solid. I mean, I'm not ruling out that Steve King can get the nomination. I'm a little concerned if he can win. Things have gone south for him this past year, especially with the no committee assignments and all these things. Well, I know, I think there's 3, maybe 4 Republicans running for that seat, not counting King. Maybe there's 5 people altogether counting King. I don't know. Jeremy Taylor, some Richards guy, I think, is running, but I'm unfamiliar with him.
I'm unfamiliar with him as well.
Okay, but I have spoken with Jeremy Taylor a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I'm a little. Jeremy Taylor is a fine Christian man, but he does have a problem with Medicare and some of the programs that I'm in favor of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not. I don't know if I'll ever support Jeremy Taylor.
Okay.
Our area is Medicare dependent, as you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, there's more Medicare people in the 4th District probably than in most districts in the country. So that's kind of a bold position for him, but I don't think it's a winner.
Well, when I listen,
she's being very cautious over there. I'm going to talk with her again.
she throws caution to the wind, especially on her birthday. I just think that he's saying, I listened to Jeremy when he was talking to you that day about incrementally increasing the age for Medicare, and that's going to be post all of this people that are getting Medicare now.
Are you in favor of incrementally raising the Medicare age limit? Because 65 doesn't make you a spring chicken.
It doesn't make you a spring chicken. And again, everyone who is 64, it's not. It wouldn't happen to them until,
That's
later.
not the question I'm asking you, Ann.
Okay,
Are you
the
in
question
favor
is
of incrementalism? Period.
Yeah, I am in favor of that.
And why is that?
Because when Medicare system was put in place, I believe the life expectancy was less, and so we're living till. We've got healthy people living into their late 80s and 90s.
Well, excuse us. We'll try to die a little earlier.
Mike, I am not trying to take anything away.
So the Republican Party can say, victory, we win. They died earlier.
No. That is not the case at all.
What are you trying to say here, Ann? Because I'll tell you, you're going to get in real deep with me here.
And you know what? You're right. And I truly have no control over the federal system as it is. What do you think, Diana? How do you?
She comes from Canada, who has some would say a very enlightened system.
Well, I just heard about the Canadian system at the leadership conference I was at. There was a Canadian representative and a American representative on the healthcare issue. And one of the big things, and there's also a nurse that I met down there who's a representative up in North Dakota, and she said, we advertise to Canadians because we know they can't get a knee replacement for at least a year. So if you have 1 year of deterioration, you have 1 year of gaining weight because you're not able to be mobile. I mean, that's harmful. I know they say like knee surgery is elective, but it's really not elective. If it's limiting your mobility, it's going to the extension's going to hurt you.
Well, you know, if you don't have Medicare and you're 66, it doesn't. You can't get likely in the 4th district. You can't get your knee fixed either. I'll tell you. I've made this observation, and you can back me up over there, birthday girl. I have never heard a Canadian say that they didn't like their system. I mean, you're right, there's delays. I talked with a Canadian guy who lived in this country it's been a few months ago. and his mother had some sort of surgery, pretty extensive surgery. And she waited 6 months to get it. And the cost of that surgery was $30. So I'm ready to move to Canada.
Okay. Well,
I
think
can tell you that my dad 2 years ago had a very severe stroke and was hospitalized for at least 6 weeks and then went into a long-term care facility. And he came out of that after all that time. He's still in a long-term care facility. But his bill was $0.
$0, yeah.
And it would
if I could pay $0 after all that, you know, I might be able to put up with a wait.
And he had a stroke. He had the best care. If it's an emergency situation, you have fabulous care up there.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
So, cancers, chemos, anything that's pricey, long-term meds are cheaper. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to each system.
Yeah. Obamacare never took the profit out of medicine. Here I am talking. I know Jim Meyer's listening out there somewhere, and I'm talking to Ann. And Jim's going, took the profit out of it? What are you, a communist? No.
I thought you were a strict capitalist, Mike.
I'm a capitalist with a heart. I think any decent country should take care of its older people. And yes, that includes Medicare.
I agree with that. And not just their old people, the people that can't afford care. I agree there should be a safety net. Absolutely.
Okay. What kind of safety net is that going to look like, and when's it going to kick in?
We have a safety net in place. The Medicaid system in Iowa, we are, that's the second biggest part of our budget.
Right.
K through 12 education and Medicaid together are 82% of our budget. We do have a safety net, and I'm actually on the committees that are funding and overseeing that safety net.
Are you satisfied with the safety net at the state level of Medicaid?
I am. We've had some deficiencies since it went over to the MCO coverage, but we are working those kinks out. And yeah, I'm definitely, as a healthcare professional, here to advocate for the people who need healthcare.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay. Yeah. I should let Ann get through her second session before I start picking on her like that. You know what I mean? Especially after I had that story over here in the corner by my dad had a stroke and went to long care and it didn't cost him a dime. Here's her Ann sitting over here. Oh, great.
And I'm happy that the care that they're getting is, but again, there are pros and cons to each system, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're done with this
I'm
now.
Done with that.
Well, I'll get back to politics then. With
okay.
You probably heard Representative Scrappy Mike Sexton. He was with us a little while ago.
I did hear him briefly. I didn't hear everything he said. I was only there for about 10 minutes.
Well, he gave me a completely different take on Randy Feenstra. He's not real crazy about Randy Feenstra.
I don't know Randy Feenstra.
You don't even know him?
I really
okay.
don't. I've seen him in the hallway maybe twice in the Capitol, and I don't work with them. We don't serve on the same budget committees. So that's when we do mix with the Senate, is on budget committees. He's not on. I'm on Health and Human Services budget, and he is not. I have a lot of respect for Senator Kreinbrink, though, and I feel like he does have good input. So
Tim's a cool guy.
I liked what he had to say about what he did to help the housing issue in the 2018 for Fort Dodge. I mean, that was a big thing for Fort Dodge, and I appreciate that.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And Congressman King, by the way, has done a lot for Fort Dodge, the federal.
Oh, absolutely.
He's just wearing some people out. He was down in, he was down in those detention centers the other day drinking out of a water fountain or something right next to a toilet just to show how great the water was. What are you doing down in Texas, for God's sake? Come home. Come to the 4th District.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That is an interesting. I did read that about the water fountain.
Yeah.
But it's just, how much room is there? I don't know. I don't know anything
either.
about it, Mike. I can't even comment on that.
See, you really took the wind out of Ann's sails over here with that story out there. Okay. All right. So what do two young girls like you do on somebody's birthday? I mean, do you go pound shots anywhere, or?
We do not drink shots. Again,
we're Republicans. We do not drink shots. That's a Democratic Party thing.
Our big plan for the afternoon truly is manicures, pedicures. Our birthdays are 2 weeks apart exactly. You may
I believe
have heard,
somebody told me that.
You may have heard that.
Ann's was first.
Ann's is first. Ann's older. Ann's the older of the two.
And wiser.
But
yeah, we're celebrating our birthdays together today on her birthday, as it usually works.
All right. Oh, so you're celebrating both your birthdays?
Yes.
Well, this may call for more than just a pedicure and a manicure.
We might need a glass of wine.
All right. Ann Meyer's been here. I'm so glad to see you again, Ann, and thank you for coming in on such short notice.
Absolutely.
Diane Willers? Yes. Next time you see your husband, tell him to stop in. You do see him every now and then, don't you?
I will tell him.
All right. Is Jim and Mike going to spring for any gifts or dinner or anything this evening?
Well,
maybe. Huh?
Maybe they're listening.
You got to do it, boys. 4 o'clock, KVFD.
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
Staggering devastation. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A briefing just held in the Bahamas where the U.S. military is part of the massive international effort underway to get thousands of people out of the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Dorian and get relief supplies in.
For example, getting the airports open to their full capacity, getting the seaports open, allowing us to have air traffic control so we can have safe aircraft flights.
General Terrence O'Shaughnessy with U.S. Northern Command. Search and rescue efforts continue with hundreds, if not thousands, still unaccounted for. Fox's Steve Harrigan is on Abaco Island, which is now miles of debris where neighborhoods used to be.
It's really like scenes out of Mad Max here. All the trees are down. These shipping containers actually were thrown over from the port, so everything is really in a jumble, and the people seem a little bit stunned.
Meantime, damage assessments only just beginning in parts of the Carolinas, where Dorian made landfall earlier today as a Category 1 storm over Cape Hatteras. Flooding and power outages, some residents stranded by floodwaters on Ocracoke Island. Airlift rescues are planned. The CDC now urging people to consider not vaping at all for the time being because the cause of hundreds of respiratory illnesses and now at least 5 deaths remains unknown.
There are a total possible 450 cases in 33 different states of e-cigarette related illnesses.
Fox's Matt Finn.
The CDC says the majority of patients that fall ill from e-cigarettes are young, healthy men. They have sudden trouble breathing, abnormal chest x-rays, some requiring intensive care and a ventilator.
The FDA also investigating, analyzing 120 substances that can be added to e-cigarettes, including THC, vitamin E, and some vape products. Also being considered as a possible cause for anyone continuing to vape. The CDC warns against adding or mixing any chemicals or buying anything off the street. America's listening to Fox News.
Dell has something extra for small businesses, up to 45% off during their semi-annual sale. It's a perfect time to update to Windows 10 with huge deals on business computers featuring Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything. Call Small Business Technology Advisors who can help you achieve your business goals affordably with low monthly payments on the right tech for you. Just call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/business deals for semi-annual savings.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
There should have been a night watchman. That's one preliminary finding in the federal probe of a deadly boat fire in California. 34 people on a diving trip were killed during the early morning fire. 33 bodies have been recovered.
Based on crew accounts, passengers had virtually no chance to survive. One, because of the design and layout of the boat, no night watchman as required, and no one heard a working smoke alarm. Nevertheless, dive teams are trying to recover physical evidence for the investigators, including the ATF National Response Team.
Fox's William Lajeunesse in Santa Barbara. Part of the focus is on the second level of the boat where passengers were charging cell phones and batteries. The U.S. Navy confirming that it test-fired 4 unarmed long-range missiles from submarines off the Southern California coast this week, but not, it says, in response to any worldwide events. A renewed fight over auto emissions between California and the federal government.
California has set its own fuel emission standards for a while now. They got a waiver from the EPA years ago due to all the smog that was plaguing Southern California back in the 70s. This has meant automakers have had to make cars complying with California's rules, and they did. 12 states and D.C. also adopted those rules, but the Trump administration's rolling back emission standards. So in July, California announced they had their own emission reduction deals in place now with Ford, Honda, BMW, and Volkswagen. The EPA and Department of Transportation are now telling the state that these deals probably violate federal law, that the authority to set fuel economy standards rests with Congress. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Count him out. Former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, who had been considering an independent run for president, now says he will stay out of the 2020 race, but Schultz is urging Democrats to nominate a moderate candidate. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Republican State Senator Tim Kryenbrink was a guest on Devine's Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. During his appearance, he endorsed Senator Randy Feenstra in the race for the 4th District congressional seat currently held by Steve King.
Come the primary as well as the general election, I'll be backing Randy Feenstra as the District 4 House of Representatives representation for the Republican Party.
Kryenbrink went on to talk about how Congressman King's comments are perceived by the public.
A lot of things that Congressman King says can be blown up to a point where, some of the voters have just had enough of it. And, I'm talking to constituents. A lot of people are giving that sentiment that, maybe it's time to pull over and let somebody else have the reign.
A local woman who admitted to lying on government forms and receiving thousands of dollars in food stamps has now been court-ordered to pay that money back, according to the Northern District of Iowa's U.S. Attorney's Office. 34-year-old Fort Dodge resident Jessica Martinez Roku was sentenced earlier this week to time served and ordered to make restitution of over $34,000 to the Iowa Department of Human Services, and she also will serve a term of supervised release for 3 years. She admitted that between spring of 2014 and January of this year, she knowingly lied on the application forms to receive Supplemental Nutrition Program funding. In sports, high school football action week number 2 coming your way tonight, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. Join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as the South Central Calhoun Titans host Carroll Kemper, a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kickoff on 105.9 The Beach. On Sunny 99.7, the St. Edmunds Gales have their home opener tonight, taking on North Union, a 6:45 p.m. pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Greg Woods on the call of that one. On 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers travel to Ames to take on the Little Cyclones tonight, 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kickoff. Dodger coach Matt Miller says linebacker play is paramount tonight against the Ames passing attack.
And all 4 of them guys bring it. Been here for 32 years now. The head coach here now for 16, and that's probably as good a linebacking group that I've seen us have as a whole.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 79. North winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 56. Tonight, partly cloudy. Chance for scattered storms again. Tomorrow, 75. Chance for scattered rain showers. Sunday, chance for scattered thunderstorms on Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 77.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this fall? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800-BUS-RIDE. Midas, helping you get to where you want to go. Midas, your Jefferson Lines connection.
Our job here's getting you there. Ride the bus.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth. I have a couple of truth challenged gentlemen in the room with me now, and that, of course, Randy Koolman and Nevin Mulholland. We're talking sports. That's why they're challenged occasionally when it comes to, well, the truth as I see it.
Which generally, I don't know where you get some of this information.
You don't worry about the facts, though, right?
Yeah.
See, I think I looked it up the other day. That we haven't been together on the air here for a while, but 2 weeks ago I was talking about, well, Kirk Ferentz doesn't win the big one and doesn't beat Ohio State, and you guys both pounced on me. Well, just 2 years ago he beat Ohio State 55-14. You know how many games Iowa has won against Ohio State in eternity? Very few.
Do you know the difference between those two programs as far as money and prestige? And I mean, that can be said about a lot of teams in the Big Ten playing Ohio State.
What do you know? That's interesting. What does location have to do with it? They're in Columbus, Ohio, and I know they got some big cities all around them. Is that what you're referring to?
The population that they out there is 8 times larger than the state of Iowa. I mean, and of course they recruit nationwide, but still Ohio is a great high school football state. And Michigan gets half their players from Ohio too.
Yeah, they do.
And it's a lot easier when the guy's 80 miles from campus versus 800 miles.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And that's why the SEC is so strong, because there's the high school football down south is so strong. And what did we say a couple weeks ago about the number of 4-star and 5-star athletes?
You had that stat.
It was like 64% of the 4- and 5-star high school athletes this year, for 2020, are in Southeast Conference states.
Well, Florida specifically too. There's a lot of great players.
Georgia, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, you name it.
I heard a great story a number of years ago during the glory days of the Big Ten, when Woody Hayes was at Ohio State and Bo Schembechler was up in Michigan. Schembechler would go to Ohio to recruit. And if Woody Hayes knew he was around, he'd go find him and say, "What are you doing in Ohio?" Like he wasn't supposed to be there or something. "What are you doing here?" Well, I'm recruiting.
I'm sure that hardly fazed Bo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Woody Hayes, he looked like he could be a formidable guy.
Well, he was a formidable guy. I'm not, but so was Bo.
Yeah,
okay.
Man.
All right. Anyway, we're going to talk. We'll talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes and Iowa State in that heart attack game they had against UNI last week. I want to talk with Nevin first about our Cubs as we head to October. Incredibly, we're here already. Boy, we have a rough time with our pitching staff.
Well,
our relief pitchers, I should say. Kimbrel now is hurt, and he hasn't pitched anywhere like he did, to my mind, like he did in Boston.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the debate when prior to the season starting, when Kimbrel was looking for a contract. The thought was he had lost some of that,
right,
and that he wasn't at the level he was a couple years ago with the Red Sox. Saying that, he's pitched okay for us. I think he's 13 of 15 in save opportunities, but he has struggled a little bit with injuries, obviously. The whole team has to some extent. We were just getting healthy. I mean, getting Contreras back has been huge. Getting Zobrist stuns me, to be quite honest with you, what this guy does and how he changes the dynamics of the Cubs when it comes just to hitting and putting the ball in play and getting us into positions to score runs. Zobrist was on base 5 times last night, and he hasn't missed a beat.
3 for 3.
Since he's come back. And if he's not hitting, he's walking. And if he's not walking, he's extending the pitch counts, dramatically. He doesn't swing at bad pitches. And we've been doing that all year as a team, if you paint with a broad brush. But at the end of the day, Mike, we're just so inconsistent.
We are. And I would point to Ian Happ. And I think Ian Happ's a solid little ball player. Maybe not a starter, but I think he's a great off-the-bench guy. The Cubs sent him down to Iowa early this year. As a matter of fact, I saw him play for the Iowa Cubs at a game early in June, I think, and it was hot. Oh, my God. But anyway, he stood out. You could see he was not a AAA ball player. He was a major league ball player, but he's been real spotty as well.
Well, when he came back to the major league club, he was very good for a couple weeks. Now he's kind of fallen back to where he was before. We have a lot of players like that. You've got David Bodie. Bodie comes in last night, jacks one out.
That's right.
He just got back yesterday.
But those are the guys those are the guys who make the team, as far as I'm concerned. A strong bench.
Well, at the end of the day, it really revolves around guys like Baez, Bryant, Schwarber, Rizzo. I mean, we go as they go. Frankly, we really go as Baez goes, and he's been hurt. But if you look and see when we're winning ball games, Baez is just knocking the cover off the ball.
And he hasn't been hitting, has he? I mean,
well, no. He's been hurt here lately. I mean, he
strikes out a lot.
Well, everybody does.
Yeah.
Jesus, I tell you, Schwarber is interesting. I look at his batting average, but it's a new age. He's batting about 230. But I'm telling you what, he's having a huge August, September, because when he does hit, it's out of the park and it's with men on base.
Yeah.
So he's on track to have 40 home runs, over 100 RBIs. But the Cubs have got to pull it together. They have to pitch and hit consistently. And I don't know if they got it in them, Mike.
I don't know either. I don't know. I had a Cardinal fan on the air with me yesterday. The mayor was here. And, as our time expired, I thanked him for not bringing up the Cubs-Cardinals thing.
Well, that's coming,
That's coming. Yeah. Well, the mayor said we're going to play each other 7 times.
7 times.
Wow. And that'll determine, I think, the win.
Well, and we're playing Milwaukee now through the weekend. So we'll play them Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So big series. Our end of the year, we can make or break ourselves. We can control our own destiny because we're going to play Milwaukee. We're going to play St. Louis. And so we'll see. But every time I get excited about the Cubs, and I just think, you know what? I think we got it going. Then we poop the bed.
I've never heard a Cub fan say that before.
No, I never have either. I've only said that myself why am I a Cub fan? I thought I had a psychological disorder through the 70s,
That's right.
And then here come the early 80s. We had that great team, Leon Durham and Andre Dawson. Come on now.
But I mean, just as the season goes, it's been so up and down, and it's just mind-boggling. And something's not right with Bryant. I'm telling you, again, they say he has a knee injury. He really hasn't looked right in August and September. He'll have a big hit here and there, but he is again, his discipline at the plate hadn't been good.
No.
Let me repeat some of the Cubs' greatest hits. In 1969, everybody thought they were going to the pennant. They lost, and in the last few days, Jack Brickhouse was on the air crying on the radio because the Cubs blew it. Let's fast forward to, 1982? The Cubs were in a playoff with the Padres.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a 5-game playoff, and they won the first 2 games and lost the last 3.
Jim Fry was the coach.
God.
Leon Durham was the first.
That's right.
By the way, he had a huge year.
Yeah.
69, I'll never forget it. That actually scarred me for life. It really did. I can go through the whole damn Mets lineup for you. I mean, I remember listening to just going down the toy, against the Mets in September. Oh.
Well,
yeah.
Randy Koeman is not a Cubs fan, but a Bears fan. And, of course, a lot of folks saw the Bears play the Packers last night. I just assumed the Bears would clean up on them. I really did. I haven't seen I don't see anything with the Packers that impressed me that much, but they did beat the Bears. So my question to you is this on Nagy? Is this on Matt Nagy?
Well, I think it is for this reason. He had a strategy of not playing his starters at all during the preseason.
Right.
And they looked like it. I mean, especially offensively, they looked horrible. I mean, I don't think Green Bay's defense can be that good. But, boy, they shut down the Bears last night, and they made Trubisky look bad. Trubisky didn't throw one pass in the preseason, in the 4 preseason games. And then their running backs didn't. I mean, they didn't play anybody, especially on offense. Well, even on some defense. But offensively, their offense looked like they're a month behind right now. And, interesting enough, Rodgers didn't play much in the preseason either, but the guy's a veteran. I mean, Trubisky's not. And, I watched Kansas City. Heck, the MVP of the NFL last year played a lot of football in the preseason, Mahomes, and so I think I would guess Nagy right now is
rethinking this little experiment.
Exactly.
I didn't see the game. I saw some of the highlights, and Trubisky just looked terrible.
Well, and the funny thing was there's all this hype about David Montgomery. They didn't even hardly play him. I mean, they played this Davis kid who wasn't too bad, but obviously the Bears think Davis right now is better than Montgomery because Davis probably had 3 times the number of plays that Montgomery had. And Montgomery he played well.
I watched the preseason games with the Bears, almost all of them, and the announcers were spotlighting Montgomery on the sidelines. They'd have an isolated shot of David Montgomery. There he is, David Montgomery. Coach Nagy has this philosophy of not playing his starters, and David Montgomery is going to be the answer to the running back problems the Bears have had in the past. Then he, as you say, he plays about 10 plays.
Yeah, and when he played well. He ran the ball hard and got a couple first downs on the ground. He caught a great pass for about 30 yards in the second half, and then out he comes and he doesn't play anymore. I mean, it's just it's kind of mind-boggling. But and the Bears were missing their really good tight end in Burton, Trey Burton. He was hurt, and he was a big play guy for him last year that stretched the field for him, and they didn't have him. But Trubisky looked like he was just rusty. I mean, he was kind of panicking. I still question how good the Bear offensive line is. I just don't think they're that good right now, and I don't know if they're going to get any better. But they didn't give Trubisky a lot of time, and so he was forcing throws, and he threw a really horrible interception there in the fourth quarter that cost him the ball game. And
do you think Nagy's more of a defensive coach?
No, he's an offensive guy.
All the way.
Oh, yeah.
All the way.
Yeah.
That Khalil Mack is ridiculous on defense. I saw him sitting on the bench.
But
look
Packers
at the arms
did a hell of
on
a job on him.
Yeah, they did.
Night,
he didn't do a whole lot last night. Although the Bears had 6 sacks last night.
Yeah. Well, and the Packers had 5.
Yeah, but the difference was Rodgers made the big plays when they mattered, and Trubisky didn't. And and there was 10-3
But
game.
he didn't make many. I thought it was really a predictable game. You trade Nagy. Listen, first of all, I don't think you need to be jumping off any bridges yet.
I like Nagy. Don't get me wrong.
But Nagy's philosophy is he trades health for rustiness. He knows they're not going to be sharp. Packers weren't particularly sharp. They weren't.
No, they weren't.
They're very pedestrian. Rodgers didn't do a lot out there either. Both teams, because they wanted their people healthy going into the season. September is the new August. This is the way it's working with a lot of these teams now, and this is predictable. The over last night was like 46. I would have been all over that. And we talked about it at a lunch because I was listening to some guys from Vegas, and they go, oh, geez, they haven't played. Get on the under, go under that no matter what it is. And they were absolutely right. They said they just won't be very sharp, either team. And
Who's
you want to
saying
get
that?
in
Who
on
is that?
these guys from Vegas.
Vegas,
on the line and stuff. But, the Bears got beat last year by Green Bay.
Yep.
Open it up. And they went on a roll.
But this one hurt because it was at home.
Oh, yeah. I know. It hurt.
On national television. Opening game of the season, for God's sake.
Well, the first game of the new century of football.
I suppose so.
100. That was
100 years,
100 years,
yeah. NFL 100 years. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was a horrible game.
Oh, gosh.
And even the Packer coach, he wins the game and he sounded like he lost. I mean, he was,
I didn't listen.
He was, that's I can't think of his name now. He's their first year coach,
LaFleur.
But he's going, we got to get in the room and clean these. We made a million errors and we got to clean it up and this and that. He won the game, But
if he's talking about Rodgers being sacked 5 times, that's probably part of it.
Yeah, but it's. And usually the defense is going to be ahead of the offense right now, usually at the beginning of the year. But, boy, the Bears' offense just looked horrible.
Well, we got local football tonight. The Dodgers in St. Edmunds. One of the advantages of working in this radio station is a lot of mornings I get to see through the last 6 weeks. I've been able to watch the St. Edmunds kids practice across the street. You know much about the team this year, Nevin?
They actually, the game last week, their offense was, it looked like the Bears' offense, okay? And they didn't look sharp, and they weren't very good. But their defense was very good. And for 3 quarters, it was, so I thought the score didn't reflect how close the game was. It ended up, 25-zip. But St. Ed's defense was very good, played very well against a pretty good Panora team. This is a game they need to win tonight. They beat North Union last year. I think they'll be much improved.
Armstrong, Iowa? Is that where it is?
Way up there. You might as well be in Minnesota. It's
Highway 9.
Yeah, it's a long haul up there. And but they're coming down here. They get to open up at home. I predict they'll be much improved. It'll be a very good ball game. And hopefully the Gales can get a W, get the offense going. They're fast.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of speed.
They're huge.
There's no way. I know that's not right.
Well,
jeepers, they're bigger than the Dodgers.
I know it.
Yeah. You read that, and I go. Last week we were looking at the starting lineup. Go, I haven't seen a Class A team this big. I mean, it's crazy.
They do have a couple of big boys.
They do have a couple of big boys, but I would. Honestly, I look at those weights. I think they're throwing about 20 on every one of them, all the way up and down the line.
Too. Yeah. Well, I think it's those Bemrick boys are going to carry him to victory. What do you think?
Jackson had a really good game last week. As a matter of fact, he really did.
Well, I look forward to going out to Dodger Stadium tonight to check out St. Edmund. The Dodgers are taking on Ames. Any predictions there, boys?
Well, I think the Dodgers will clean up. Ames got manhandled by Cedar Falls last week, and the Dodgers just humiliated.
Manhandled.
Yeah. They just Mason City.
Oh, my Lord.
I do remember Fred Hoiberg being their quarterback years ago, of course. Did Harrison Barnes ever play football? I don't
think so.
No.
I don't think he did either.
No.
Seems to me I would have recognized the 6'8" black guy on the Ames team.
Even you, I think.
Back off over there. Yeah. Just back off.
No, the Dodgers. They've got a lot of people back from a good team last year, and
they do.
And I've heard good things about Thorson at quarterback. I guess he's a very good runner and throws the ball pretty well, and gives them an extra dimension as a runner that they didn't have last year at quarterback. And then they've got the Clayton kid, who's a big, strong tailback. And they've got a lot of pieces, really good, strong wide receiver core. And so it appears like Ames, of course, Cedar Falls has a juggernaut football program over there, but they manhandled Ames. So I'm assuming the Dodgers will go down there and take care of business tonight. And
well, the Dodgers are ranked 8th in the state in 4A.
Yeah. and rightfully so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't hear much about the Waterloo schools anymore. Waterloo used to be a tough football town.
Yeah.
I just don't hear it anymore.
It's not the same, especially Waterloo East.
Yeah, no, it's Cedar Falls is the team over there.
That's right.
And as Randy says, they've been very, very good. I wouldn't sleep on Ames in this game a little bit. I mean, Cedar Falls is an outstanding program right now. Ames, I thought, was getting better. And it's at Ames. Dodgers go on the road. Mason City must have been horrible. I'm sorry, but that was.
Yeah, they've
got troubles up there. They got a new coach, but I heard they had like 10 freshmen out for football.
Don't
Mason
they have
City
that
High
50-point rule anymore?
They did. Well, no, what it is it's 35, and then it's
running clock.
Running clock.
Once you get to 35, they never turn the clock off. You go out of bounds.
Your point is, how do you score 65 points with a running clock? That's a good point.
Right, yeah.
I mean, really, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Dodgers played their starters in the second half.
And still 65 to
65, yeah.
I kind of felt for the Mason City kids. That was and I'm not blaming the Fort Dodge coaching staff. Mason City was probably just that bad.
Well, and actually, the Dodgers could have scored another touchdown at the end of the game, and they took a knee at the end.
What's the point? To go to 72 on them? I mean,
yeah.
Dick would have.
You think so?
Oh, Dick. He
would have done it.
Yeah, I don't think he's taking any
Dick's
knees.
never got to 72 in his life.
So he'd have done it for that reason.
No,
I never have got
that's
to 72.
just the way God bless him. I'm just
Where's he at now?
He's retired. He's in Webster City.
He's over there.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to
Yeah.
him for quite a while. But I think he's doing fine.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Good guy, great coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. I'm not being critical. I'm just telling you, I don't see Dick taking a knee.
Yeah. There were a couple of big-time whippings in college football last weekend, too. I think Maryland beat Idaho like 72-0 or 79 to something. There were a couple of schools that...
Well, the ones that you got to think about were like Tennessee getting beat by Georgia State.
Yeah.
And you had Florida State getting beat by Boise State.
Florida State got beat by Boise State?
At Florida State.
At
Boise State's
Florida State.
Boise State's a good little football team.
It is.
Florida State is
huge. It's not the Florida State your dad used to know.
I guess
for sure.
not.
Well, Willie Taggart's a coach down there, and I got a kick out of I read a comment. He said, well, he said it was a hot day. I think we got dehydrated. And I'm going, you guys got dehydrated? You're playing a bunch of kids from Boise State? And the heat's working against you? I don't think that's going to sell.
I've been watching the Big Ten Network a little bit, and Urban Meyer was on there the other day. He's a frequent contributor, and he was talking about the blowout football losses. And I got from him, for some reason, though he never said a word about it, that he is just straining at the leash to get back into big-time college football. What do you think? Urban Meyer, coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes.
That'll never happen.
That'll never happen. No.
He'll probably be less expensive than Kirk. He'll probably work for less.
Whether he'll be at Southern Cal.
Yeah.
That's
Therein lies. That's the talk. So what about Iowa and Iowa State last weekend?
We're going to get to that in the next segment. We're going to kick off with Iowa and Iowa State in just a few minutes. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We're talking sports.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
From the Fox Business Network, all Wall Street stocks closing mixed for their second straight weekly gain as investors weighed an underwhelming jobs report for August that showed that 130,000 new jobs were created during the month. Economists surveyed by the Wall Street Journal were forecasting 150,000 jobs and perhaps supporting market hopes that the Fed will cut interest rates later this month. Its chair, Jerome Powell, speaking today in Zurich, Switzerland, described the economy and labor market as healthy.
The outlook, the most likely outlook for our economy remains a favorable one, with moderate growth, a strong labor market, and inflation moving back up close to our 2% goal.
Powell said that the Fed is not expecting a recession anytime soon, and it is monitoring a number of uncertainties, including trade conflicts, and will act as appropriate to sustain the expansion of the economy. With the Dow rising 69 points, the Nasdaq down 14, S&P 500 up 3. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Hillary Barsky.
Do you want to learn to speak a new language but don't have enough time? Then you need to try Babbel, the language learning app with plans at up to 50% off right now at Babbel.com. Babbel's lessons are just 15 minutes or less, and you can go at your own pace. You'll be amazed at how easy Babbel makes it. For a limited time, get select Babbel plans for up to 50% off. Just go to Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. It's 4:31. I'm Michael Devine with the weather. Sunny for the rest of today, high 77. As a matter of fact, that's where we are right now, 77 degrees. Overnight, mostly clear with a low of 55. Tomorrow, some rain with a high of 72. On Saturday night, rain into Sunday morning, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day on Sunday. Monday, some rain is likely. Cloudy with a high of 77. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 84. Wednesday, a chance of rain and thunderstorms. Sunny with a high of 81. On Thursday, it'll be, some more rain. Mostly cloudy with a high of 79. Right now, again, 77 degrees. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. Linda Smith of Fort Dodge has died. Linda Smith died on September 5th, yesterday, of course, at Trinity Regional Medical Center. Services are pending for Linda Smith of Fort Dodge, who died at the age of 70 yesterday. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Hey, how's your roof doing? It looks like the summer sun, rainstorms, and hail have done a bit of damage. Now that winter's coming, faster than you know it, well, it might be a good idea to get it fixed, before it gets here.
Spring Valley Roofing and Gutters will ensure your roof is ready for the harsh Iowa winter. Call 576-6438 for a free estimate.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, no matter what these two guys say. And these two guys are Randy Kuhlman and Nevin Mulholland. And we're talking sports. If you listened yesterday, you heard Senator Tim Kreinbrink endorse Randy Feenstra, which I think guarantees Steve King the nomination. What do you guys think?
Did Feenstra?
Feenstra's done.
Oh.
He's toast.
That's probably true. I'm not going to get into that. That's funny.
Okay, I watched a lot of football last weekend. I mean, Iowa State and UNI. I should have taken the points in UNI. My God. Iowa State's favored by 18.5 and barely pulled it out. But I have not seen in the last 2 years a Matt Campbell team look like this. They were, and Purdy is an A number one quarterback, completely ineffective. And UNI, God bless UNI. Coach Mark Fowler, I'm a big admirer. They're a great football team, but they shouldn't be in Iowa State's league. They shouldn't be in Matt Campbell's league at this stage down in his coaching career at Iowa State. And Campbell is going to come back. I know he is because he's a great coach. I really do think Campbell's a great coach. But that was not a good performance by Iowa State at all.
Predictable.
Now, how do you think that's predictable?
I did. I really
did. The Vegas odds makers are giving Iowa State 18.5.
Totally vanilla.
Or,
the Iowa State team that you watched play last week You won't see him anywhere near Ames next week, okay?
I believe that.
No, you won't. That was the offense that Iowa State was running. It just about blew up on him, frankly, because if UNI recovers a fumble, it's a huge loss for him. But they played that whole game so close to the vest. Did you see Purdy once, run any type of play option and where he's going to carry it? No. I mean, this was, Iowa State's got Iowa right where they want them. No, but they'll be a different team. I'm just telling you, their defense was very good, frankly, against UNI. Their offense wasn't very good, but and that's not to take anything away from UNI. UNI really. Their defense was very
tough.
Very good.
Farley was on fire on the sidelines. I love that.
But their offense really wasn't. They couldn't move the ball all day. I mean, you can talk about how well McElwain or whatever their quarterback scrambled, and he did, and he showed a lot of moxie, a lot of composure, and they grinded that game out and did what little they could do. The kicker was terrific. I feel bad for UNI in the sense that, They had that game at the very end. They recovered.
I have to admit, in the last half, I just assumed that Iowa State would clean the floor with them. But I have to admit I was pulling for UNI in the second half. The reason is almost all their players are from Iowa, little towns in Iowa. They're real good about recruiting from Iowa and Iowa.
Very much so. You're right. You're right.
They had at least two or three from the Butcher kid from Manson played extremely well at defensive tackle.
Yeah, Coulaire, middle linebacker that played at Iowa Central.
He's a stud.
Pretty good.
Yeah. He's a stud. I saw him play for Iowa Central, and I thought, why isn't Iowa and Iowa State recruiting this kid? And he goes to UNI, and he had 14 tackles?
14 tackles against the Cyclones.
And I think you'll see a different team. They were probably a little vanilla. I was surprised, though, and maybe that was they're not showing things, but they threw a lot of those short